You're back on the Rational Boomer podcast. Hopefully, your day is going well. This is going to be flying from the seat of my pants, quite frankly. And it's probably going to be shorter than what a normal podcast is. We had the earlier one, the email podcast, which was about a half hour. But initially, it was my intention to have a live I did on YouTube as the podcast today. I did the YouTube live. TJ helped me out on that. Went fine. We had some technical glitches and such, but it went fine. We had a lot of interesting things to talk about. Um, and then when it gets to YouTube, the next thing I would do is download it and turn it into the podcast. For whatever reason, it's not allowing me to download it. I don't know what the fuck is wrong. I've done it before. Shouldn't be a problem to do it again, but here we are. So I've got to leave you with something on Saturday. So I thought I'd do a podcast. And again, I'm flying by the seat of my pants. There is no plans, there is no strategy. We're just talking some shit. But some things did go on um, yesterday that are pretty interesting and pretty disturbing as well. We know what's going on with Elon Musk and his band of merry fanboys, the hackers. They're going into different departments and locking it down and then compromising the computer programming or computer systems. They did that yesterday. They went into the Department of Education. We know that Donald Trump wants to shut down the Department of Education. Unfortunately, he can't officially do that without congressional efforts. That doesn't stop Elon from going into the department and fuck with things. And that's what he did yesterday. And I found this interesting, particularly because we'd heard that he'd gone into the Department of Education and that he locked it down. And then a whole bunch of congressional people, congressional reps, showed up and said, "Hey, what's going on? Let us in." Now, the interesting thing about it was there was one guy standing outside the door, just one guy standing outside the door. He looked like a fucking dolt. He looked like some racist motherfucker that the Republicans would have on their side. I don't know, maybe he wasn't, but that's the vibe he gave me. And so the representatives are saying, "Let us in." And he's saying, "No, I can't let you in." And they kept going back and forth. The cameras were there. And it just struck me as strange. I've always thought that sitting members of Congress had a lot of power, maybe had some security around them. Here's one guy standing in front of the door. He won't let them in, and they're doing nothing to get in. Are you serious? You've got a bunch of representatives from the House of Representatives telling one guy we want to get in, and he says no, and they can't go in. They stood there arguing for a little bit. It struck me as strange. It almost seemed performative in my eyes, because you got to believe these members of Congress could walk right past this motherfucker. That some of these members of Congress maybe had security of their own, and some big guy would come up and grab them by the scruff of the neck and throw them out of the way. That's not what happened. Elon Musk got to go into the Department of Education and do whatever the fuck he did with these younger kids. I'm not sure what to think about that. I'm kind of disappointed. I'm kind of confused, and I'm very frustrated because we keep hearing these people telling us, well, that's illegal. That's illegal. Okay. Well, then why are they still doing it? Why are they still going in these places and compromising the computer systems? It's funny. There doesn't seem to be any accountability. There doesn't seem to be any enforcement for these alleged laws that are being broken. Now, some of them have said, well, we are suing them. Well, good for you. We know how long lawsuits take. And are you telling me I could go rob a bank, walk out with the money, and the cops wouldn't touch me, but they'd sue me? Please. This is one of the things that frustrates me about this country. I feel as though that the rule of law, the DOJ, members of Congress, we always thought they had this power and they were so strong and nobody would ever step over them. Donald Trump comes along and says, fuck it. That's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to step around your shit and do whatever the fuck I want. And frankly, that's exactly what's happening. Now, as I said, there's some lawsuits involved in this. There are 19 Democratic attorneys generals. They have sued Donald Trump on Friday to stop Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency from accessing Treasury Department records that contain sensitive personal data, such as Social Security and bank account numbers for millions of Americans. Now, I just recently heard that they went to court about the Labor Department too. And apparently this judge said, no, we're not going to stop it. I don't know if this was a Republican plant or whatever the fuck it is, but lawsuits aren't enough. If someone's breaking the law, there's got to be some law enforcement official to stop this shit. The only problem is we have a DOJ that's compromised, a DOJ that's being led by Donald Trump. So even if there were some people going to the DOJ, to the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, and say, look, this is illegal, we've got to do something about it. Ain't no way she's doing anything about it. Now, the case filed in federal court in New York alleges Trump administration allowed Musk's team to access the Treasury Department's central payment system in violation of federal law. And for all intents and purposes, that's absolutely true. That's exactly what it is. Now, the payment system handles tax refunds, Social Security benefits, veterans benefits, and much more, sending out trillions of dollars every year while containing an expansive network of Americans' personal and financial data. So this is some pretty serious shit. This is something that affects pretty much everybody in this country. And for some reason, Elon Musk is able to just walk in and do whatever the fuck he wants. As I said, I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed in this country. We all believed that nobody could ever do this. Donald Trump just says, fuck it, and he's doing it. He's just fucking doing it. I don't even know what to say to that. I don't even understand how that's possible. And the saddest part of it is the people in Congress, they don't know either. If you ask them, how can he do this? They'll say, I don't know, because nobody's ever done it before. Are you telling me you made these laws and these rules, but you never considered how you might enforce it in a situation like this? That is truly troubling. That's scary. That makes you wonder if this whole American government thing is nothing more than a paper tiger. Now, Donald Trump continues to do some stupid shit, some goofy shit. On his third week in office, Donald Trump appears determined to follow through on his plans to overhaul the entire federal government and carry out disruptive action. And that's really what it is. It's about disruption. Now, employees at the U.S. aid on Monday were ordered to stay out of the agency's Washington headquarters after Elon Musk, Trump's billionaire ally, said the president shared his assessment that U.S. aid needed to be shut down. Now, I believe a court turned that back, at least temporarily. But the damage he did in doing this has already happened. I think I said on the previous podcast that while they wanted to shut this down because America first and sending money to other countries to help out with aid, they thought that was wasted money. Now, clearly it's not wasted money, but there is a backlash that happened because they did this. And what happens is when you send this money to these countries to buy food, who do they buy food from? Well, they buy it from American farmers. And right at this point, there's probably $340 million worth of crops and grain and that sort of stuff sitting on ships and in containers and getting ready to rot. So not only do these people not get their food, not get their money, but farmers are being put in a very compromised situation, a situation that's going to cost them a lot of money. Now, these people, these farmers might be content thinking that Donald Trump will bail them out, but I beg to differ. Donald Trump did bail them out back in his first term because he had to. He needed their votes coming up in 2020. Right at this point, he doesn't need them. He's not going to run for reelection in 26 or 28. He's very transactional. So if he's going to do something for you, you better do something for him. Unfortunately, the farmers in this country can do nothing for him of any value, at least in his mind. So will they get bailed out? Probably not. Will they be pissed off? Probably. Will they struggle? May some go out of business? Absolutely. And if you think Donald Trump gives a fuck, you're going to be surprised. Now, the question is, a lot of these farmers voted for Donald Trump. Will this be enough of a lesson for them to learn? Will they think twice about voting Donald Trump or Republican in the future? Based on past history, I would say no. They fucked around, they found out, they didn't care. So we'll see how this all shakes out. This whole mess of what Donald Trump is doing to be disruptive can only last so long, and then things will settle down a little bit. I heard on the live that somebody said this whole delay tactic by Democrats will end on Monday. I don't know if they've heard something that's going to happen on Monday, but I'll be honest with you, I've heard those things before. Just wait till Monday. Just wait till next week. Something's going to happen. And I'm not confident that that's the case. Now, like I've said, Donald Trump does some goofy shit too, just to be disruptive. In a Friday afternoon Truth Social post, Trump said he plans to make the John F. Kennedy Center for Performing Arts great again by installing himself as chairman of the National Culture Center. How do you think that's going to fucking go over? Donald Trump will have some goofy reality TV show at the Kennedy Center, and the Republicans will be heralding him as a master showman. But anybody with any class or decency are going to be appalled. Leave it to Donald Trump to ruin something that's been important and valuable in this country and cultural. Donald Trump doesn't have the ability to be cultural in any stretch of the imagination. He said, I have decided to immediately terminate multiple individuals from the board of trustees, including the chairman, who do not share our vision for a golden age in arts and culture. Trump wrote, he will soon announce a new board with an amazing chairman, Donald J. Trump. This will be interesting. How will these people react to that? The current board chair is David Rubenstein, who was originally appointed to the board by former President George W. Bush and has been chairman since 2010. Rubenstein was set to stay in that role until 2026. In his Friday post, Trump went on to criticize the center for hosting a drag event for LGBTQ youth. This will stop, Trump wrote. The Kennedy Center is an American jewel and must reflect the brightest stars on its stage from all across our nation. For the Kennedy Center, the best is yet to come. Yeah, who's going to show up? Alex fucking Jones, Steven Seagal, or some dipshit? Donald Trump is a rube. He doesn't know anything about culture. And Donald Trump ruins everything that he's involved with. So he's bound and determined to ruin the Kennedy Center. Will that wake some people up? I don't know. Now, the Kennedy Center president, Deborah Rutter, announced her plans to resign last month, just a week after Trump's inauguration. Rutter plans to stay in the role through the end of the year and said she was looking forward to working with the new administration. Republicans don't love the arts more or less than Democrats, Rutter told New York Times. I beg to differ. Part of the thing is with the Republicans, they may like arts, but to them, arts are fucking tractor pulls and professional wrestling. So we'll see how that all goes. but it's not going to turn out well. Nothing Donald Trump is ever involved in ever turns out well. It will be an embarrassment for those people um, that are involved and have cared about the Kennedy Center for so long. And now Donald Trump, like everything else he touches, is going to kill it. Now, it's interesting. President Donald Trump was finally confronted at a joint press conference with Japanese Prime Minister on Friday about tech billionaire Elon Musk's rapid infiltration of government IT systems, in particular, access to the system that handles almost all payments for the Treasury Department and gives Musk and his engineering team theoretical access to huge troves of American Social Security numbers and private financial information. Now, if you didn't see this video, you should probably check it out. Donald Trump was one pissed off cowboy. He didn't say anything much, but you could see he was angry. Now, what you have to remember is Donald Trump was chosen as Man of the Year on Time. And at that point, Donald Trump had nothing but adulation for Time magazine. Now, when a reporter asked Trump whether Musk and his Department of Government Efficiency task force really needed that kind of access to American sensitive data, he said, well, it doesn't, but they get it easily. I mean, we don't have a good security in this country, and they get it very easily. So what he's saying is they don't have access, but they can easily get it, so they're entitled to it. Commentators on social media were shocked by Trump's words, with many pointing out that this was essentially a confession that Musk's scheme isn't on strictly legal footing. And even Donald Trump must know that. It's not legal to access people's data. You don't have to be a genius to figure that out. Even Donald Trump is not that dumb. Well, maybe he is. Donald Trump went on to say, trashing our security in the FBI on the national stage is a gift to enemies in disgrace. That was written by the author of the story that was written about this situation. Now, the interesting thing about this, Donald Trump was asked, and he gave his stupid answer. And then where the trouble came in was when the interpreter repeated it for Japan. And Donald Trump got a look of rage on his face. And then he had to try to come up with something clever, which is not easy for Donald Trump, frankly, not easy at all. And he said, Time magazine, is that still in business? Yeah, you loved Time magazine when you were Man of the Year, and now you're trying to diminish it. And this is essentially who Donald Trump is. And this is why Donald Trump, anybody close to Donald Trump, is on a thin wire. If you do something to make Donald Trump angry, even if you were his best friend, you are cast out and chastised. And this is what we're going to see happen to Elon Musk. Elon Musk is a malignant narcissist, as is Donald Trump. Donald Trump doesn't like taking back seat to anybody. And in this interview where he was asked, what he was asked about was this Time magazine picture. And the cover had Elon Musk in a suit sitting behind the Resolute desk in the Oval Office. Obviously, a pretty sharp jab at Donald Trump. Donald Trump was not happy about that. And when it was asked, you could see the rage in him. When it was repeated for the Japanese premiere, he was angry. He was very angry. And this is the sort of thing we need to do. We need to make sure that he and Elon Musk are put at odds. I've said this before in a TikTok. Whenever you have a million problems, it's never wise to take a look at all of them and think of how we can fix them quickly. You got to take them one by one. You got to take the most important one first. And in the current situation we are in, we have to consider Elon Musk is the most dangerous. He's the one most active. He's the one going rogue and acting illegally. He's the one that's accessing all of our information. So, first and foremost, we need to stop him, and then we move to Donald Trump. The way we do that is financially, of course. We know that Tesla car sales are down everywhere, as much as 60% in Germany. That's got to pinch a little bit. But over and above that, we have to do what the Republicans did to Joe Biden. We got to go after this motherfucker. I mean, we really have to go after this motherfucker. And we have to expose him for all his failings and such. And people will say to me, well, that will never hurt Elon Musk because he's got $400 billion. And maybe that's right. But what we have to do is make him a liability for Donald Trump, make Donald Trump angry with Elon Musk for making him look bad. Now, people have said that Elon Musk could go to jail for the things he's done. And then people will say to you, yeah, but Donald Trump will just pardon him or cut him a deal or get him out of the way. But if Donald Trump is angry with Elon Musk, and that's not going to be hard to do because Elon, as I said, is a malignant narcissist too. If Donald Trump gets mad at Elon, do not be surprised if Donald Trump sicks the DOJ on him himself. So that should be our goal. We need to separate this bromance. We need to no longer have them together. Donald Trump is enough of a problem to deal with. We don't need Elon Musk on top of it. So what we need to do, we need to break this little bromance up, and we need to cancel Elon Musk. Elon Musk has no immunity. He's not an elected official. He's not the president, never will be. So we need to create that wedge between Donald Trump and Elon Musk, and then we need to crucify in social media Elon Musk. Use the thing that he got wealthy for and known for, social media, to destroy him. And when I say destroy, I'm not talking about any physical things or violence or anything. We need to tear him apart piece by piece. And there is so much to tear him apart for. His family, the kids who speak out against him, the fact that he's a sexual predator and is being sued for such, and just the other criminal activity. And hopefully when some Republicans start feeling the pinch from what Elon Musk has done, then maybe it'll be easier to push back on him. So we'll see what happens. I don't think the Donald Trump, Elon Musk is going to last much longer. Frankly, I didn't think it'd last this long. So we'll have to see. It's a weird situation because they both have something that the other wants desperately. Elon has $400 billion, and Donald Trump loves money over and above anything and anybody else. Elon Musk has the money, but Donald Trump has the power. And Elon Musk is hungry for that power. Let's talk about some other goofy shit that Donald Trump. This one's interesting. Now, you remember when Donald Trump said that he was going to rename the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America. Yeah, that'll save us money on fucking eggs. But that's what he said he'd do. Google said, yeah, we'll change it on our maps. The other thing he said he was going to do is change Mount Denali back to Mount McKinley. Why? I don't know. It makes no fucking sense at all. Donald Trump's order to change the name of the highest mountain in the United States faced pushback Friday from members of his own party. They didn't like that idea. Alaska's Republican-dominated Senate voted overwhelmingly against his plan to ditch the indigenous name of Denali for the huge peak, which Trump has rechristened Mount McKinley. The president has unleashed a flood of executive orders in his first days, of course, and attempts to remake the U.S. government. Orders have included mass pardons for Trump rioters. Of course, we know that. But it's his order to rename the 20,300-foot Denali drew the ire of Alaska state legislators. They didn't mind releasing the insurrectionists, but do not change the name of that mountain. A resolution passed unanimously by the Alaska State Senate on Friday urged Trump to rethink his plan. The name Denali is deeply ingrained in the state's culture and identity, the motion said. Residents of the state believe the names of the geographic features in the state should be determined by state residents and representatives, which makes sense. Doesn't Donald Trump want to send education back to the states, even though that's where it is anyway? Doesn't Donald Trump want to send reproductive rights back to the states? But in this one, he wants the federal government to take control. It seems a little hypocritical, seems a little contrary. The motion, which earlier cleared the lower chamber by a sizable majority, notes that state lawmakers called for the mountain to be known by its indigenous name as far back as 1975. Now, 4 decades later, then President Barack Obama officially recognized that push and dropped the moniker Mount McKinley, which had been the peak's official name since 1917. It was coined in honor of Republican President McKinley, who served in the Oval Office from 1897 until his assassination in 1901. The resolution by the state legislature appeared unlikely to change Trump's mind, but was notable as a rare display of disobedience from members of his largely compliant Republican Party. So we'll see what happens. We'll see if Donald Trump gets angry with the Republicans in Alaska because they're pushing back against it. I bet he does. Then we'll see when he forces the issue and it becomes Mount McKinley, how the Republicans react. This is one of the things I talked about with TJ. What's it going to take for motherfuckers to learn that Donald Trump is not working in your best interest? And I think we both agree that the only way some Trump-fucks are going to ever understand that they made a bad choice, it isn't going to happen until they get burnt down. And that's unfortunate. Nobody wants to see anybody suffer. Now, that said, when we're talking about Trump-fucks, if they end up suffering, there's going to be no sympathy from me. The unfortunate thing is, in the process of burning these Trump-fucks down, there will be innocent people that are burned down. And I'm sad about that. I'm sorry for that. But this country put themselves in this position. They forced the issue that we either have to succeed or get burned down. And that's unfortunately, that's unfortunately what we may see. It's terribly frustrating when people can't learn a lesson, when they don't understand what is working against them, or they're so caught up in the cult of Donald Trump that they don't care if it happens to them. Like I said earlier, the farmers during Donald Trump's first term lost billions and billions of dollars. He put them in a horrible situation when he sent tariffs to China. They decided not to buy our soybeans and they rotted in the fields. These people were desperate. Some people even committed suicide. But ultimately, Donald Trump did bail them out with $58 billion. And somehow, some way, these people were cool with that whole process. But as I say, he's already burning the farmers right now as we speak. And maybe they think that Donald Trump will bail them out. I suppose it's possible that he will bail them out, but the fact of the matter is as I said, he's very transactional. If you're going to get something from Donald Trump, you better be able to give him something back. And the fact of the matter is they've got nothing to give. He doesn't need their votes anymore. And the moment Donald Trump doesn't need you, the fact of the matter is that you're not going to get anything. He doesn't care if you suffer. He doesn't care if you cry. But we'll see how this shakes out. And when he doesn't bail them out, will that be enough for them to say, okay, enough of Donald Trump? Now, you probably heard this story. Elon Musk, when he's breaking into these places, he had these kids, 19 to 25 years old, just little fanboy hackers, to do their dirty work, whatever that may be. Now, the fact of the matter is that I said we should expose who these people are, give their names, give their families' names. If they're going to be doing this at the behest of Elon Musk, at the behest of Donald Trump, we have a right to know who they are. And Elon Musk did everything he could to make sure we didn't know who they were. He claimed it was against the law to reveal their names, which is not true. And it's ironic when he says something like that when he was going to release the names of FBI agents that were going to be fired. That's just flat out dangerous. But somehow it's different for his little punk ass bitches that were part of this scheme. Well, he has no leg to stand on. He can't hold anybody responsible for releasing the names. And the names were released, and their parents' names were released. And I'm sure they're going through some shit. Now, it's interesting. One of these little fucking clowns, people went back on his social media and found out he had occasion to make a lot of, I don't know, racist remarks, pretty egregious racist remarks. And he was made to resign, justifiably so. He shouldn't have been in that position anyway. So, anyway, the Democrats were upset about the things he said, and again, justifiably so. But the Republicans said he shouldn't have to resign. They should hire him back. J.D. Vance even stood up and said, I don't agree with some of the things he said, but I don't think a young kid should get his life ruined because of the silly social media, which is ironic when Donald Trump has destroyed so many people with his social media. And now J.D. Vance doesn't think that this kid should suffer because he was exposed as a horrible racist. The interesting comment that J.D. Vance said that intrigues me is he said that he didn't agree with some of the things he said. And I'd like to ask J.D. Vance this. All he said was racist shit. You don't agree with some of it. Which of the racist shit do you agree with? I think we should all be interested in knowing what that is. Elon Musk said he was going to hire this kid back. And he may very well hire this kid back. But understand this. As I said before, we need to go after Elon Musk. We need to cancel this motherfucker. And this kid can go back, but he is who he is. He did what he did. And the social media is going to tear him to shreds. I think he'd be foolish to go back. I think it'd be best for him to go away and let it cool down a little bit and hopefully try to lead his life. But people know who he is. So it'll be interesting to see if, in fact, he does come back. I mean, these people aren't very bright. So who knows what the fuck is going to happen? Now, this next story is kind of interesting. This may be the last story. As I said, this is going to be shorter than most podcasts. I did a half-hour one earlier yesterday, and the live was supposed to be up this time around, and I don't know what the fuck is going on. But this story particularly interests me because Old Soul was sending me text about this story, and she was pretty upset about it. Her boyfriend and his kids are from South Africa. The kid's mom is still in South Africa. And what Donald Trump did, he put people of color in danger in South Africa. Hard to imagine he's able to do that, but that's exactly what the fuck happened. The president signed an executive order criticizing South Africa's 2024 Expropriation Act, which allows the government to take land for public purpose or in the public interest in exchange for just and equitable compensation. South African officials have likened the law to eminent domain in the U.S. About 70% of all farmland in South Africans is owned by members of the country's white minority. The country has yet to expropriate any land under law. Now, in shocking disregard of its citizens' rights, the Republic of South Africa recently enacted the Expropriation Act 13 of 2024 to enable the government of South Africa to seize ethnic minority Afrikaners' agricultural property without compensation. Trump's order stated using a term for white South Africans. This act follows countless government policies designed to dismantle equal opportunity in employment and education and business, and hateful rhetoric and government actions fueling disproportionate violence against racially disfavored landowners. Now, Trump also cited South Africa's role in bringing a case against Israel at the International Court of Justice, where it accused Israel of genocidal intent in its war in Gaza. He said the U.S. shall not provide aid or assistance to South Africa and shall promote the resettlement of Afrikaner refugees escaping government-sponsored race-based discrimination. But it's not like what you think. He's basically acting as if white people are being held back. This is specifically to benefit white people in South Africa. South Africa, which was once apartheid South Africa, and now Donald Trump is doing what he can to bring it back to South Africa. How a president of the United States can have any impact on South Africa, I don't know. Makes no fucking sense at all. But Donald Trump's got a loud mouth. And if these people think they have the support of Donald Trump and Donald Trump will cut off aid, he can have some impact on what's going on there. Now, notably, the president made loud and clear that the U.S. will welcome South Africans of European descent to the country if they wish to come, assuming they're white. He didn't say white in that situation, but he did say Africans of European descent, which basically means white. The Secretary of State and the Secretary of Homeland Security shall take appropriate steps consistent with the law to prioritize humanitarian relief, including admission and resettlement through the United States refugee admissions. I thought we didn't want any foreign immigrants, but he'll take the white ones from South Africa, just not any of the brown ones from any place else. Now, of course, Elon Musk is one of Trump's closest advisors, is himself a white African and emigrated to the U.S. by way of Canada to avoid military service in his native country. They're a lot alike. They're both malignant narcissists. They're both lying motherfuckers, and they're both draft dodgers. Fucking unbelievable to me. Two peas in a pod. Just a matter of time, how long they can coexist. I got one other story for you, and this one's kind of interesting. President Trump dismissed archivist of the United States Her name is Colleen Shogun, a decision he reviewed a month earlier before assuming office. At the direction of @Real Donald Trump, the archivist of the United States has been dismissed tonight. We thank Colleen Shogun for her service, said White House Director of Presidential Personnel Sergio Gore. Shogun was the first woman to serve as the leader of the National Archives and Record Administration. She was nominated by former President Biden in 2022 and was confirmed the role in 2023 before being the head. Shogun was the senior vice president and director of the David M. Rubenstein Center at the White House Historical Society. Trump told conservative radio host Hugh Hewitt in early January that he wanted to replace Shogun. I think I can tell you that we will get somebody, Trump said on Hewitt's show. Let me just put it, yeah, we will have a new archivist. Why this is interesting is because the National Archives is the one that had the complaint against Donald Trump for stealing classified documents. They're the ones that asked him to return them, and they're the ones that got denied by Donald Trump. Ultimately, they had to send the FBI down to Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago shithole and drag that stuff out of there. So, do you think this is a little bit of revenge? I would say so. Without question, it's revenge. And the funny thing is, that's all we've seen from Donald Trump since he's become president. You know, you notice that there's been no bills regarding bringing down the price of eggs or energy. He was going to cut energy in half, but there was no sign of him doing anything like that. Everything he's done is about destruction and revenge. That's all he's done. That's all he ever has done. He's a destroyer. He doesn't build anything, in spite of the fact that at one point he was known as a builder or a developer. Donald Trump is here to destroy things. And there are people in the Republican Party that want him to destroy things. I think I said in a previous podcast that somebody was talking to a Democratic rep, and they said, are there any Republican colleagues that understand really what's going on and have a problem with it? And this Democratic rep said, yeah, definitely. They don't like this at all. They don't support it at all. So the question is, why don't they say something? And as this rep pointed out, they're terrified. They're afraid of Donald Trump. Isn't that interesting? We elect these people to represent us, to protect the Constitution. And they are terrified of a 78-year-old orange guy that shits his pants. What's that tell you about the Republican Party? We've got a whole bunch of cowards in the Republican Party, and we have to suffer for it because they are cowards. You would hope Republicans would take note of that and hopefully do something about it. But up to this point, they have not. Very frustrating. It's like a no-win situation. The people that should be protecting us are too terrified to do it. Something needs to be done with Donald Trump. I don't know what that is ultimately, but I know that at some point it will happen. He will step too far. He'll become more of a liability to the Republican Party. They could impeach him. I know that Al Green, a representative in the House of Representatives, a Democrat, introduced articles of impeachment against Donald Trump. Now, whether that will go anywhere or not, I'm not expecting it to. Mike Johnson could just refuse to put it on the floor, and nothing will ever happen. As I've said before, there is a possibility down the road that Donald Trump could get impeached, but that's something that's going to have to be initiated by the Republicans, and the Republicans aren't going to do it until they have no other choice. That Donald Trump has destroyed their party, and they need to get out from underneath him. But again, the terror and the fear from these people with Donald Trump is still there. So who knows how long that will take or if it will happen at all. I will tell you this, Donald Trump has really put himself in danger, at risk. He's pissed off so many people in this country. He's pissed off Republicans in this country. He pissed off countries all around the world. Him making the idea that the United States would own the Gaza Strip, that was a huge mistake. That was stupid to say. You've pissed off the entire Middle East in that situation. And once he did that, you thought, well, maybe he'll back off of it once somebody tells him that was fucking stupid. No such luck, because yesterday on Truth Social, Donald Trump reiterated that concept. He's doubling down. He's tripling down. People say, Donald, that's dumb. And in true Donald Trump form, he continued to double down. The reason I bring this up is because Donald Trump is an absolute publicity whore. And we've got this Super Bowl happening on Sunday in New Orleans. And Donald Trump will be the first president in history to go to the Super Bowl. And why I think this is weird is because he wants to be the center of things. He wants to be the big story. He can't live with the fact that the Super Bowl might rank him at least one day for the year. So he's going to show up thinking he's going in as a conquering hero. There's going to be a lot of Philadelphia Eagles fans there. And as TJ pointed out to me, Eagles fans don't particularly like Donald Trump. Philadelphia in general doesn't like Donald Trump. When we talk about Kansas City, there probably are a number of Donald Trump fans there. But here's my concern. If I'm in the Secret Service with Donald Trump, and I know he just pissed off the Middle East and many other nations around the world, including people here in this country, do you really think Donald Trump should go to the biggest media event, the most covered event around the world for that one day? We saw what happened in Las Vegas, and we've seen other situations with these terroristic attempts or these attacks. Now, I'm not hoping we have anything like that at the Super Bowl. I pray we don't. But if I'm in the Secret Service and I know we've got a Super Bowl, we've got everybody around the world hating our guts, particularly hating Donald Trump's guts, I don't think I'd send them there. I don't think that's a good idea. But you're not going to stop that. Donald Trump thinks he's going to get a standing ovation, and we'll see what happens. I hope nothing happens at the Super Bowl, but that seems like a ridiculous risk, something you don't want to do. And frankly, I don't want to see something like that happen to Donald Trump because then he'll just be a martyr. At some point, Donald Trump has to be carted off in shame, his reputation destroyed for eternity, for history. That's the only way to get rid of him. And we've got to find a way to do it that way. But if I'm in the Secret Service, I don't send Donald Trump to the fucking Super Bowl. But, Donald Trump will just be Donald Trump regardless of what anybody tells him. And he will defy anybody that suggests he do something he doesn't want to do. So come Sunday, come tomorrow, we'll see what happens. All right. I am going to wrap up the Rational Boomer podcast for another day. Again, I apologize that this is kind of a, throwing some shit against the wall, because that's kind of what this show is on this day. But I thought it better to do this than to put up nothing. I'm not ready to do that. I've been pretty consistent with being here every day. So here I am. We'll have another podcast, of course, tomorrow. And I don't even know what that's going to be about. I do think I know what that's going to be about. We've got JD coming. He's the young farmer. He's going to show up tomorrow and be with us on Sunday. So look forward to that. Anyway, I want to thank you for taking the time to listen. I hope you have a great day, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow.